Hello everyone, welcome. In this particular lab we are just going to work on this particular exercise that is really from Microsoft documentation, and I'm preparing for my AZ 300 or 303 the certification. And this exercise is part of this series where you have the secure and isolate access to Azure resources by using network security groups and service endpoints. For this particular lab, they are not giving you a demo environment. You gotta have your own subscription available to do this. So pretty much what we want to do in this particular exercise, this is a very important one, where we have this internet connection. We are deploying two different servers, a data server and an application server in two different subnets. If you see, this got a IP address of 10.0.0.4, and this subnet is the application subnet, and the data server is under the databases subnets, and the IP address for this particular VM is 10.0.0.1. So they are all deployed under the ERP server's virtual network. So what they are doing, we have a NSG, and the NSG assignments are app server NIC and the data server NIC. So what we want to do, from internet nobody can directly connect your data server. Only application server can talk to the data server over HTTP protocol, but the data server, that should not be able to connect to the app server directly. Okay, so and for this particular exercise we're going to use Azure CLI. So what they're saying, run the following command and a resource group for resource replace with the name of the resource group. So let's think about a resource group that makes sense, maybe call network security NSG resource group. Okay, so let's get that resource group and let's go to our Azure. I'm already logged in, so let's go to the CLI. At this time, if you're watching the video, I'm pretty sure you already know what the CLI is and how to get to that point, so I'm not explaining too much. So here we are. So the resource group, I'm gonna call NSG RG. Okay, so that stored my resource group, and then location, I like the East US, and again, if you're watching my videos for a while, you know that I love that location. At least for all the practice labs, that location worked wonderful. The provision state successful, so I have created my resource group. So next, what we want to do, run the following command in Azure Cloud Shell to create the servers. So if you look at what is creating and the application subnet, network VNet create. So in this command is in network VNet, so we are creating the virtual network, and it's gonna get the resource group name. So it's gonna create inside the NSG resource group that we have created. The name of this network virtual network is going to be ERP servers, and then here is the address prefix, and within that we are going to create a subnet which is going to be named as application, and that subnet prefix, so from this big address we are going to take 10.0.0.0.24 and assign that address range to applications. Okay, so let's copy that. So actually copy from here, go there and paste, and this should not take too long because it's just creating that virtual network. So let's go, and it's done. Over here, so we have done down to step 3. So over here, run the following command to create the databases subnet. So we have created the application subnet. It's a similar command, right? So it's the VNet name. So we have already created the VNet ERP servers. Okay, and in this one we only created the application, we didn't create the databases at the time of creation of this particular virtual network. So we're going to add a databases subnet to this particular virtual network that we have already created. So let's do that. So let's come here and paste, and while it's doing, it shouldn't take too long at all. It's just creating the database. And once you have all that, run the following command to create the server's NSG network security group. So at this time you haven't created any network security group. So let's create this and come over here and paste this again. Look at the command AZ network NSG create. So it's creating a network security group. You're still not associating this network security group with anything. Okay, you are only creating it inside this resource group. Okay, that's all. So this, although you're creating it, it's not going to do anything until you configure it properly. So we are up to that point. Now what we want to do, we want to create a virtual machine within Ubuntu. So actually we need two virtual machines to represent the application server and another to represent the database server. So let's get this command and let's it's actually gonna get a template, looks like, from the GitHub, and it's gonna create a particular virtual machine in the same resource group, and it's gonna call it application server. It's gonna put it under the ERP server's virtual network. Subnet is gonna be applications. Network security group is the ERP server's network security group. It's gonna use Ubuntu LTS image, standard DS1 v2 SKU. Here is my user name, and there is some custom data, and admin password is something we are going to provide. Let's see, run the following command, define a password for the admin account. Run the following command, define a password for the admin account. Okay, so let's copy this and come over here, paste. So for the password, let's do P. I hope it meets Azure requirements, so I'm just gonna store it in some place. Let's see here, and let's see if it works. Okay. Alright, so the deployment has started, and okay, so it's probably running as a beta. I don't think the whole deployment is completely done. So let's do the next command as well, and next command you are also doing the same thing, but you are deploying this Ubuntu machine in the databases subnet. Okay, and so let's copy this. It's going to pretty much use the same YAML file, or go to the same place to get everything else on the configurations. And again, for the password, we're gonna copy and use the same password. So let's get this and paste it and hit enter, and it should start the deployment of this machine inside our resource group as well. So let's see where we are. And it says it can take several minutes for the virtual machines to be in a running state. To confirm the virtual machines are running, we can run this following command. So that's an important command that we should keep in mind. It's a useful command, AZVM list. Then you are providing the resource group name, show details, and this is the query that you're running. Provisioning state and power state, and output, you're outputting your command as a table format. So this one says running, previous one, okay, this one did not give me my my shell back. So what we can do while this is going on over here, we can come back, go to the resource group one more time, and within this resource group, well, this looks like this is done. So if this is done, we can also do, but since we are here, we'll just take a quick look at it and see what happened. So if you look at it in this resource group, it looks like already the application server deployment is done, because I just saw it. Okay, this is the application server, that deployment is done. Data server looks like that is also done. Okay, so from here you can also click on these server names and it will tell you whether they're running or not. Looks like that's running. And if I go back to the resource group again and look at the data server, and this one is in the running state as well. Okay, so just to verify from the CLI, we can also run the command that we have. So it's also verifying that even from the CLI we're getting the same information, like both of the machines are running. So that deployment, went very fast. So now what we're going to do, we're going to check the default connectivity. Okay, now you will try to open a SSH connection to each of the virtual machines. To connect to your virtual machines, use SSH directly from Cloud Shell. To do this, you need a public IP address that has been assigned to your virtual machine. So again, it's a similar kind of command. Instead of getting the status, we're gonna get the public IP address assigned to this machine. So if you paste this one, actually I want to put this command in here. It's a useful command to have. The other one is also important and useful, so I'm going to put that one as well in here, and I'll just put them in the video so you can have it quickly if you want to get to this. Alright, so we got these IP addresses. So next what we need, so let's see, so we got that. To make it easier to connect to your virtual machine during this rest of the exercise, assign the public IP address to variables. So what they're saying, put these IP addresses to variables, app server and data server. Okay, so that's what we're gonna do, so we can use this to test more stuff. So let's do that. So paste and paste. So now if you run echo $app server IP, so you should get that IP, right? And again, if you do echo $data server IP, you should get the IP address of the other server. So that's how simple it is. Now once we have that, what you can do, we can connect, we can run our SSH command from within the CLI environment and to the app server and see what happens. So let's copy that command. Since we are in Ubuntu, I don't really need to do the SSH. We can also run it from here just to show you, because Ubuntu I'm not even there in the cloud. Okay, so this one is actually won't be able to find the IP address. So if you want to run this one, you gotta run it from, so I'll do it from both. So first let me run it from here, because this command is using this variable and my Ubuntu local machine doesn't know anything about it. So what this says, connect to, connection timed out. So it says no, you cannot connect, and the reason being, by default most likely no connection is allowed. Let's see, connection time, you get a time, run the following command. So if I do the same thing, we are going to get the same connection timed out message. Okay, and you should see the connection timeout message in here as well. Alright, remember that the default rules denies all inbound traffic to a virtual network unless its traffic is coming from another virtual network. Deny all inbound rules blocked the inbound SSH connection that you just attempted. Okay, so allow VNet, virtual network, allow, deny all inbound from anywhere to anywhere is denied. These are the two default rules that we have. Now one thing we want to take a quick look at it at this time. Look at the NSG real quick and see if the NSG, there is no subnet assigned to the NSG. What about network interfaces? Okay, those. So when we deployed this NSG with the CLI command that we used, under this NSG we have already associated this to virtual networks. Okay, the network interface cards to this particular NSG, and by default these NSGs, they do not allow any connection from outside. So what we want to do, so I wanted to show you that we can same thing from this Ubuntu machine as well. So public IP address, if you take that one and come over here, instead of using Azure IP that you can do, I'll just test it with one, and this one also should not allow you to connect to that virtual network, and that's what it is, connection timeout. Let's go back to the lab. So what we need to do, we need to create a security rule for SSH. Okay, so we're gonna add a command. So let's study the command AZ network NSG rule create. So it's gonna create a rule for an NSG in this particular resource group. For this particular NSG, ERP servers NSG, is going to be, name would be the allow SSH rule. Direction is going to be inbound. We're going to put a priority for 100. So from any source address to any source port and to any source address, if the port is 22, then the connection will be allowed, and the protocol has to be TCP. So SSH uses a TCP protocol, and the description we're gonna say allow inbound SSH. So let's copy this one, and you can also do this using the portal, but we are using CLI for this particular lab. All right, so once this is done, okay, so this if we try this command to the app server IP from let's see, oh, I ran it in some other place. I ran it over here. I have to run it from using this. So copy this and run this command first here. So that is going to create the rule for you. Once the rule is created, we're going to test the connection again. Okay. So once this, so in that time you should be able to connect. Just remember, the network security group rule may take a minute or two to take effect. So if you just created this, ran the command, and it says successful, immediately you go and run this command and it's not successful, give it a minute or two. Okay, and you should be fine. Usually I've never seen this to take more than like 3 minutes. Okay, so let's see. So this is done. So if I try it right now, I may still get connection timeout. Okay, because it's just completed. Yeah, see, it says connection timeout. But if you keep doing it in next 1 minute, okay, you will see that like this is 12:48 in my time right now. It still gave me connection timeout. So let's give it a little bit more, few more seconds, and then we're gonna keep trying, and you should see that your connection will be successful. Alright, so while this is doing, and we're giving it a little bit more time, let's go back to the lab and see. And so what it's really, you should be able to connect, and it's just gonna ask, do you really want to connect? You will say yes, and we're gonna provide the password, and we will get into the virtual machine, and then we can type exit to close the app server session. And we're gonna do the same thing with the data server, and we should be able to get to the data server as well, because we have opened port 22 to any machine, right? So we didn't specify a particular IP address. We said go any virtual machine, we should be able to connect to the port 22. Okay, so let's go back. Let's now try the same command. Let's see, look at that, it's magic, right? Now it's asking, yeah, do you want to connect? Yes. Now it's asking for the password, so let's figure out, copy our most secret password, and I'm not sure if I pasted it right. Yeah, I did. Look at that. As your user app server. So we are logged into the app server right now. So to exit the session, so just type exit, so you're back to your previous Azure environment. So at this time we do the same thing with the database server, just to make sure the database server we can connect. Do yes, and also again get the password, the most secret password, paste, hit enter, and if you have done everything right, there we go, Azure data server. So we have established connection to both app server and database server by opening up the port. Now since we are here, let's look at the inbound security rule and look at there. Port 100, priority 100, this is the name, allow SSH rule. Port 22, protocol TCP, source any, destination any is now allowed. So that's the rule that we have created that allowed us to get to both of the virtual machines. So we are done up to this. Now we have to do one more thing. Now we want to make sure that web access is prevented. Okay, now we add a rule. So the app server can communicate with database server over HTTP, but database server cannot communicate with app server. So one way connection is possible, the other way is not possible. So if you look at the app server and database server IP addresses, the private IP addresses, these are the IP addresses that we have. Okay. So run the following command in Cloud Shell to create a new inbound security rule to deny HTTP access over port 80. So what we are going to do, again, study the command, is going to create a new rule for the resource group for the NSG. It's HTTP rule, inbound, priority 150, source address prefix is you're gonna provide this 10014. So from database server 10014, source port from any port in that particular database, if a connection is made to this server, which is the application server, on port 80, you deny the access if the protocol is TCP. So this is going to create the rule to block all access on port 80 from data server to app server, right? From data server to app server. So let's do that. Come over here and paste it and run it. So once you have done that, test HTTP connectivity between virtual machines. Here you can check if your new rule works. App server should be able to communicate with data server over HTTP. Data server could not be able to communicate. So that is the rule that we created. So again, by default, your connection to the internet is always available. Remember that. So the first thing that we want to do, we want to copy this. So what is this is doing? This is trying to get to HTTP, so that service that is running on port 80 from app server. Okay, and 10014 is your database server. So let's see if that is successful. And looks like it is. It's just asking me for the password, so let's copy the password, paste. Okay, so you got you there is your HTML, so you're able to get to the HTML just fine from the application server. Okay, so now let's see what happens if you try from the database server. If you try to get to the application server and try to get whatever running on port 80, let's see what happens. Hit enter. Again, put your secret password. And it just says connecting to this and nothing is happening. Now while this is still trying, let's go back. This should not succeed because you have blocked over port 80. After several minutes you should get a connection timed out message. Press Ctrl C to stop the command prior to the timeout. So this is what is expected. So it's still trying to connect, and it's gonna trying to connect for several minutes, and it will then say, yeah, I tried, but connection is not successful. And while we are here, we're going to refresh this rules, and here is the look at that. This is the rule that we have created. We have said on the port 80, if it's TCP protocol from database server if you are going to the application server, deny traffic. So that's what is at work as of right now. Okay, the next thing that we can do, we can create an application security group for database servers so that all servers in this group can be associated the same setting. So application security group, what it does, you can combine multiple network interface cards as a group, and then when you define your NSG rule, instead of specifying a particular IP address, you can use the application security group name as a reference. So that helps you tremendously managing your security rules, and you don't have to worry about creating hundreds of rules. You can use the application security group to solve your problem. So what do we want to do? We want to create a application security group this time within the same resource group, and we're going to call it ERP-DB servers ASG. Okay, so let's go. It's still running. I'm just going to say Control C, and we're going to run the next command. So this is creating our application security group for the database servers. Alright, run the following command to associate data server with the application security group. So now you have to associate, once you created the application security group, you have to associate the NIC to that particular application security group. So what you're doing here is a network NIC IP config update, okay, from this resource group for this particular application security group. IP config data server, NIC name, data server VM NIC, VNet name, ERP server, subnet, databases. So you are associating that with this particular application security group. So since this is done, I can click, and this should associate my data server VM NIC to that particular application security group. And once that's done, run the following command in Cloud Shell to update the HTTP rule. So this time, as I said, instead of using the IP address, now we can use and refer our as a source ASGs. We will say this is the ASG that we want to associate. Okay, so we're gonna copy this, and let's see, is it done? Yes, it is done. So we can now update our NSG rule. So this is the rule that's going to be updated, okay, 18150 rule, and we'll review as soon as this command is done. You will see that the source address, so this looks like done. So let's refresh it and look at the source is now changed from one IP address. It is now referencing to your application security group. So if you click on it, source application security group, look what it's, so this is what you are choosing, okay, and it's still, destination is still that one particular virtual machine that is the application server, but you are now saying this is a DB server ASG. Any VM that you are deploying within the database server virtual network, they cannot connect to the application server over port 80. So that's the beauty of application security group. So let's come back over here. Now test the updated HTTP security rules. So again, we can do the same testing from app server. This we should still be able to connect. So that's what is expected, because app server we have not changed anything. So you just do this, get your password, copy and paste your password, and you should be able to download. Yeah, you're able to get, and you're getting a 200 OK message. So you are getting it to this. For the other one, you still should not be able to connect. Okay, if you want to run this, here is the database. So copy this, and just to prove, and you will see that it will just stuck there and doing nothing. And so that proves that your implementation of your application security group was successful again. So it's stuck right there. So that's all that we wanted to cover in this particular exercise. So thank you for watching. Maybe if you do not have a subscription, this video was helpful to you. If you like, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe, share with your friends. If you're studying for a certification exam, good luck. If not, just enjoy learning Azure. And I'm just learning myself, and I'm enjoying a lot, and I'm learning a lot about many different things just by learning the Azure and how everything works in a cloud environment. Again, leave your comment to make my videos better, and thank you for watching. Have a great day.